definition. That's not a legal definition. That is a clinical definition. You need to have attraction, recurrent attraction to a prepubescent child that has less than 13 years old. And some people doesn't know, but even if you are a minor, you can be diagnosed with it, even if you are 16, 17. It's clear that even though what he said is correct, there is one expert that said that, hey, maybe fictional children, they should be included in the diagnosis. What is actually put it forward and actually come out as the definition is that biological children should be the ones that make up for the diagnosis. Because when you put up like fictional children, what is a completely messy concept that you cannot put yourself behind it, and I'll show it more forward, is you kind of get anything, literally anything that you subjugate as a child. And sociological children, as a like a legal child or someone that is like 70 years old, does not classify someone as a pedophile because they are already post-pubescent. We agree on that, okay? Is for paraphilic disorders, as any disorder, there is two criteria that has to be met to actually diagnose somebody with it. And the first criteria is harm. The disorder must cause harm. In pedophilia, it is obvious that cause harm because child cannot consent to the act. So when the pedophilic engages on it, he's molesting or raping a child, is raping by definition. And dysfunction, as in you have to not be able to complete the the intended uh, the intended situation, like what is supposed to be doing with sex, reproduction. You cannot reproduce with a prepubescent child, so it's dysfunctional. One other thing is that is interesting is that on the Japanese side that it goes about pedophilia, they stated that lolicon is clearly misconstructed and not recognized as different and is misunderstood by the general public, but it is different. Now let's go defining lolicon. First of all, I need to make a small correction on the definition. It's a slang word, so there is no objective clinical definition of it. But I want to say that these two characters right here, there's 9-year-old and 8-year-old, they are not lolis. Regardless, they are young, stated young. They do not look like a lolly. So the lolly is an aesthetic. It's not an age number that you just put on a character or a title. Because of this difference of age and what is a lolly, you can be considered a lolicon for somebody that's older than you. So that obviously set it apart from being a pedophile. The pedophile need to be at least 5 years of age gap of the person, higher, and there is a source. What is a complex? Complex is a obsession, like he said. That's correct. Is obsession, infatuation, and it is not necessarily sexual. You don't need to be sexually stimulated to have a complex. This is an example of somebody saying that they love their brother. They're not saying they want to fuck their brother. They're saying that they want to have a good relationship. They love their brother. It's just an obsession they have because they really fond of their brother. And there you go. You can have lolicons that are not necessarily NSFW about it. And that's how you get a sexual lolicons. They are of course hair and a minimal type, but they exist, so it's fair to notice it. So what would be lolicon scientifically? Here's a paper, there's a peer-reviewed paper that classifies attractions towards cartoons, especially Japanese media, as fictophilia. You can call it many different names, as tunophilia, as scandiophilia, fictophilia, but generally that's how it is classified scientifically. And in anime, we know that pedophilia is completely different as Lolita complex because Lolita complex is a completely subjective and vague terminology. Now let's go to the main arguments. Goho Loli Loli Baba. This is a character called Shuten Doji, and she is based off her VA, her voice actress. her VA is called a legal lolly in real life because she's short, just like Shuten. She has the same exact height, and she has the same features. The difference is Shuten is of Scar 25. And about age of the characters is just don't mind you, the first character to ever be called a lolly to be designed as so in 1979 was a character that is 18 years old. So you see, it's not just a very, very rare exception, and it's not just me pulling up a character and say, oh, this dragon lolly has 9,000 years old. Many of these are based directly on petite women. But since my guy here, he posted sexualized depictions of a character that is 15 years old canonically, I will say he does not care about age, so I'll proceed to the next argument. Proportions. Lolis are not necessarily prepubescent looking. So if they are not necessarily prepubescent looking, they cannot, even if you think of them as real life, they cannot be diagnosed you as a pedophile. Even if you put the pubescent character in real life, you wouldn't be diagnosed as a pedophile for them. So even if you don't believe that life in fiction, reality, you need to like exactly what you like in both cases, you still wouldn't believe that all polygons are pedophiles. And that here we get the definition that clearly states that lolis have pubescent characteristics. And this definition is nothing coming from me, it's coming from the biggest site on Japanese media and lolly art, that speaks it. And this style of creation is very old. That is dates from the very, very first lolly drawings from the 80s from Ushiyama Aki and Hideo Azuma. Here's some examples of clearly lollies that can be based off around petite adults. There is a whole section of Javiavi, that is basically pornographic actress, that they are classified as lolly in real life. Why? Because they are very short and they are petite. And to show you more what showcase what's the differentiation is, I'm going to do this. I simply put the real life people through the AI, and you can see how they are perfectly matched with many lolly or average lolly characters. So why do people like lollies? There is many reasons. First one is simply that the range of attractions is wider in fiction. That like if you have a distasteful for really, really, really big-breasted people in real life because it looks ugly for you, you may find it better in fiction, in anime, because they are made to look perfect and symmetrical. The same way it can work the other way around. Second point, they like taboo shipping dynamics, and that's completely fine. Third point, CSA victims use it for cope. They haywire their trauma with it. They cope with it. Another point, they can feel represented in self-inserting the lolly. That's actually a great deal of people self-insert themselves on the lolly character, not on the abuser in this case. And like the iProcket said, pedophiles can also like it. Like the very one that he stated, they can project themselves onto it, and that's completely something that also happens. I'm considering this. I'm not saying that all lolicons are not pedophiles. And people can just like lolis platonically, like the asexuals that I cited, but they are of course the minority of the minority. No, but they look like children. Bro, they do not, because they look more like aliens in children. And if you're trying to say that is an excuse that they look like how they look, so I can look off their bodies, you like this Wojak lolly over here? No, nobody finds that beauty, because we do not like the body for the body. Is not an excuse. We like the whole complex thing. We like the moe of the character. Here are a few citations. He said that there is no studies about it, but there is studies about it. There is many citations about it. And this is the first one. There is no claim to support that the existence of lolicon or engagement with such content encourages cognitive distortions. This is another report that was looked into by the Danish government, and they simply come out to say that it does not provoke the people to engage in child sex abuse. This is a very, very interesting one because this one was made in pedophiles to see how do they can cope with pedophilia without acting on it. And one of the things they tried is giving them lolicon. And they noticed that specifically the exclusive pedophiles, the ones that can only be attracted to children, have difficulty to cope with it. So
1
if
minute left.
it was pedophilia, this could not possibly happen. Simulacra. First, we need to understand that virtual child pornography is something that's very, very broad, and it includes petite women as well. Loli is simply a simulacrum, not a representation of something that is real, but something that substitutes completely what is real. Legal and moral is very legal in the US. The last legal case that was referred to was in 2019 when the UN tried to ban it, and they simply say that it is protected by the First Amendment. They would never say this if it was illegal. I bought lolis online. It is not illegal. They
That's time. That's
Thank
11
you.
minutes. I can give you maybe another 20 seconds if you want
All
to
right.
conclude.
It's just conclude really fast. And the case they had that judicate lolicon as complete was Ashcroft